Hey guys, welcome to the Dude Seriously Show. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Tim.
And today we're talking Hotel Artemis. Hotel Artemis is basically a modern take on Escape from New York. The world is in riots, and people are running around on the streets committing crime. There's a hotel that specifically fixes up the bad people, and that's where our film takes place. So Tim, what were your initial thoughts on Hotel Artemis?
Well, going in it, I knew nothing about it. I didn't even watch the trailer. I just knew Jodie Foster was in it, and I'd heard that Jeff Goldblum was in it, so I had that little bit of knowledge. And in fact, when it started, I hadn't even realized it started. I thought it was a trailer for another movie. I leaned over and he was like, "Did this start already?"
Yeah.
But it was okay. I mean, it wasn't anything I would ever really feel the need to see again. Yeah. It was just okay.
Yeah, I would agree. It was just okay. I think that it had a lot of strong points. I don't really know that it had any points that were jarringly bad to me. It's just overwhelmingly okay. But like we kind of said, this is like an art house film that made it to a huge theatrical release. I think I speak for both of us in saying that we think this film would have actually fit a little bit better in smaller kind of independent theaters. The big names could have been the draw to people who don't necessarily spend time in art houses, or art house movie theaters, that is. And then, it could have been a nice little twist. It's a big budget art house film, and I think that's going to work for some people, and for some people it's just going to fall flat. But overall, I think
the funny comparison is if you saw our Upgrade review, it was sort of the same situation, and how we saw this one, that was sort of a low budget, I guess you could call it an art house type movie. Yeah. That this feels like a big budget art house movie. I would highly recommend going to see Upgrade. Yeah. This one, if you want to see it, go see it, but otherwise you're not really missing anything. Yeah,
that's exactly what I would say. If you're not already convinced to see this movie, I would say wait for Redbox or Netflix, but overall, it has some saving qualities. So we're going to cut into spoilers here. So if you care about spoilers for Hotel Artemis, this is the part where you check out. See what I did? Check out. It's a hotel. But okay, so earlier I said that I felt like there was a plot point that could have just been totally removed, and I think that it was the part with Jenny Slate's character, the cop. They show her showing up on the doorstep. She's wounded. She has a connection to Jodie Foster's son and the family, and I just felt like overall it didn't really serve any purpose. It was interesting to show the relationship between cops and bad guys, but we know that. We didn't need to have that handed to us on a silver platter.
I think every 5-year-old kid knows that relationship. They don't really need to do anything with that in the movie, and it really, really, really didn't go anywhere. Yeah. she comes in, they take a little bit of care of her, and then suddenly they got to get her out, and she leaves, and you never hear from her again. Yep. Yeah. So it totally didn't serve any purpose.
Yeah, and again, I said in the intro that I felt like this movie dragged on a little bit. It was a little bit long. And I think that removing that, you could have cut a healthy, 6, 7, 8 minutes out of the movie.
At the very least. At the very least. Yeah. For me, it felt like I'm not a fan of old movies. Everybody in our group knows that. For some reason, I just don't like how slow and plodding that they can be. This one was sort of like that, but it felt like it was ratcheting up tension the entire time, and I kept expecting a big payoff for that. Yeah. And you got sort of a lukewarm payoff. Yeah. And I don't want to get into too many details, but it just wasn't really what you wanted it to be, especially this being a hotel full of big bad guys.
Yeah. And interestingly, it's the movie set in LA. It's kind of got that Escape from New York feel, as we said, where there's a lot of crime in a centralized area. The issue for me, though, is that you have this huge hotel, and I understand that with one person, Jodie Foster, running it, it can't be full of bad guys, but there was 3 people, 4 people, if you count the cop, in the hotel at the entire time. And I like that centralizes the story kind of in a Hateful Eight kind of way, where you really get to know these characters, but you never really have any reason to care about these characters.
And Hateful Eight's a good comparison, because you kind of learn about all the characters as they go almost in a round and tell each other's stories. Yeah. This one kind of did that, but you didn't care. Yeah. I didn't really give a crap about anybody. The only one that really stood out to me, and we saw it with another friend, Cainan, who helped us get into the movie. But
thanks, Cainan.
Yeah, thank you very much. The only one that I really cared about was Dave Bautista.
Yeah, who was awesome.
He was in it a lot, but you really, really wanted him to be in it more.
Yep.
And nobody else. I mean, Jeff Goldblum was good, typically, like he always is, but he just wasn't in it very much.
Yeah. And, I wish I didn't know that Jeff Goldblum was in it. I think it would have been more fun if he showed up like, hey, but you got to have those big names to sell it.
I totally agree, though. I totally think that would have been a huge surprise if he swoops in, does his few scenes that he actually does, and then swoops back out again.
Yeah, totally. And then the other thing, too, talking about the setting. I really like the color palette they used. It's dark, it's shadowy, it's run down, but in this world of oppression, you see some blues and some, oranges and some nice, tropical colors, if you will.
You can tell this was supposed to be or used to be a really nice place because it's got giant murals. It's got really rich fixtures and stuff. So it felt like at one time this was a swank hotel for what it is, but it was all run down, like it's not well taken care of. If you were not feeling well and you were needing help, I don't know that you'd really want to wind up in that place.
No, but I like that this world sets up that of the places you could go, this is top notch. I like that. I liked that it was secluded. I liked that it was exclusive to get into, if you will. But I wish that it almost had more of like a 10 Cloverfield Lane kind of feel where everything takes place within these four walls, if you will, and you don't really know a ton about what's going on outside. Or, for instance, like the movie Split, how, they're all trapped in the basement and you follow Professor X out of the, room. But that's the only time you ever get any kind of escape. And in this, it's similar to that they don't really leave the hotel often, but I wish that there was none of it. I wish that once you were in the hotel, it was locked. And then that scene where Jodie Foster walks out for the first time, you would really feel that.
You'd feel her apprehension that she feels, because there's little steps throughout the movie where somebody is either coming in or somebody's going out. So plus you're constantly hearing what's going on outside by television, radio, whatever. So you do know stuff's happening. You should be nervous, but this is a woman that hasn't been outside in decades, I think.
Yeah, I think that she's been doing this for decades. I think they said at one point it's been like 3 years.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. You're right.
It would have been, going back to the cop point that I feel could have been entirely removed. Imagine if she would have let the cop die instead of going out and rescue her, going back to my point that it could have been completely removed. If she would have let her die, it would really help solidify, wow, she really is afraid of going outside. She would rather let a good person die.
That she has some kind of history with, which you don't really ever learn. But yeah, she would rather let that person die, a good person, a person she has history with, than to step outside. Yeah, that would have been strong. Yeah,
that would have been cool. And then the other thing with the characters, the characters had great moments. Bautista was awesome. Goldblum was great when he was in. Charlie Day. Mm-hmm. Everybody played their parts well. But I just don't care about anybody in this movie.
I would agree.
They all had cool parts, but overall, I just never connected with anybody. Was never really rooting for anyone, and that's the problem. Between our last review and this one, I saw this movie with Steve Carell called Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed it, but I read a review afterward where somebody said that they felt his character was kind of boring, kind of mundane, and this is what stuck with me. They said that they don't give you any reason that you would want to spend 2 hours with this character. And while I really enjoyed the movie, that kind of changed the way that I look at characters.
Yeah.
If you don't connect with the characters and you don't care, then the film doesn't give you any reason to stay with them for the whole time. And no pun intended with the hotel thing here, but you check out of the movie.
Well, but also, that's a really good point. I would also say, think of it in the mind of you're meeting somebody on a blind date. That's kind of what you're doing when you're going to a movie. You go and sit down with the expectations y'all might spend a couple hours together. What if you go and you have no connection? Do you really want to spend a couple hours? That's kind of how I felt with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was almost ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's the best way to wrap this up. This movie is like a blind date at the movies. Hey. Some people are going to enjoy the blind date. Some people aren't. But hopefully you connect with it and hopefully you enjoy it. So, we want to thank our friend Cainan again for having us out tonight.
Thanks so much, Cainan.
So, yeah, appreciated. And let us know in the comments below what you think of Hotel Artemis. How do you think it looks? Are you planning to see it? If you have seen it, let us know what you thought. We love reading your comments and we love hearing how you interpret the films that we see. So, thanks for tuning in. And dude, seriously, we'll see you on the next one.
There's a lot of shooting in the movie.
There is. There's a lot of shooting.